The rash and violence against officers has prompted the small town of Roman Forest near New Caney in Montgomery County to take steps to protect its officers. On Facebook, the department announced it's switching from one-person units to two-person units. According to the Post, this was ordered by the mayor and is a direct response to the murders of police officers around the country. The change was to go into effect immediately. So should more departments make the move? Is it a good idea, or would it be bad for public safety because officers wouldn't be covering as much ground? Roman Forest two-person units is our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also send a tweet. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in our newsroom is our roundup panel led by our senior legal analyst Chris Tridico, our news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
So what do you think about this? This is obviously a very small department. I'm not sure how many officers they have, but what do you think about this move?
You know, I think it's a great idea if you can afford it in your municipality. And you said you didn't know how big it was. I'm going to tell you because I looked.
Oh, good.
This is Roman Forest covers an area of 1.5 square miles. The subdivision I live in is bigger than this city. They have an 18-man department and only 7 full-time officers. The rest are reserve officers, and they patrol for 1,279 people, 420 households. And so it's very easy for the city of Roman Forest to say we're going to do that. When you have one full-time patrol position, that takes 4 officers to cover a 24-hour period for a patrol position. So to do this, they're in effect saying we're going to double the size of our police department. For the city of Houston to do that, it would be untold millions of dollars, Mustafa, and is the public willing to pay the extra taxes it would take to do that in a department the size of the city of Houston?
Well, I think the plus side to this is that it's an opportunity for us to talk about how we underfund law enforcement in many ways. If you look at the city budget, 2/3 of it is public safety. You mentioned Roman Forest. We have over 5,000 officers. Our HPD budget is about a little over $900 million. So there's more that we can do, and if we need to double our forces, we should. But at the same time, I want people that have the political rhetoric of we support law enforcement should also back it up with their wallets, right? If you want to expand those services, then you should be willing to pay the extra taxes to do so, not just kind of salute the flag and say, we're behind you, but let's not, you know, your pension is the problem for our city budget. We're behind you, but you know, that raise that you wanted, we're really not that interested in paying for it out of additional taxes. So as long as we back up what we say, then I think we're in the right place.
To do this like the city, and again, I applaud Roman Forest, but they have the ability to do it that something like the city of Houston can't. To do that, you would either have to double the size of the force without increasing the number of patrols, or increase the number of, more than double the size of the force to increase the number of people on the street.
Well, as we discussed last week, the city of Houston did back up their words, and they took a referendum to the poll. Or a policy to the poll, and for the public to vote on, and there were billions of dollars that was voted specifically to go into public safety to put more officers on the street. So far, those officers, we've only had 150 additional officers, but the taxpayers did back up what they are saying. They did back up the phrase that they want to support our police officers. I think this is something that's necessary right now because of the attacks we're seeing. We saw 7 deaths in the last 8 days of men and women. They're all men so far. In law enforcement, morale is at an all-time low. So I think this is something that should be done if the resources are available. But to counter what he just said, the city of Houston, the officials, and most importantly, the citizens did back up their sentiment when they say they support law enforcement officers.
I agree that they gave the money to increase the size of the force, but would the public be willing to double the size of the force? That would, to double that, you'd have to more than double the budget. And well, that's a huge tax
We have to be
increase.
realistic. We have to look at something like the city of Houston and the fact that so many billions was put into or voted approved for the purpose of putting additional officers on the street. That says a lot.
I agree with that. All right, we're going to go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Got a huge response on social media this week. We'll head over to my Facebook page. Kieran writes, while good for officer safety, it does decrease overall presence, especially if implemented in HPD and the sheriff's office where the coverage is already spread thin. Either way, I do support it in the current climate that is law enforcement. And then Bob says, does Roman Forest really need this? They only have about 12 officers, right? So their patrol presence drops from 4 to 2 cars and they only cover half the ground. Same would happen in a bigger city.
Well, I don't know that Roman Forest is saying that at all. I think what they're saying is they're going to double the size of their force is what I understood, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, in a city that's 1.5 square miles, you can go to 2 or 3 cars and probably not really lose a whole lot of coverage area. But moving forward, how do you take something like this? You know, when I was growing up, back around the time the earth cooled, there were always 2-man units. And this is not a change that was made for any other reason other than we can put more officers on the street if we go to 1-man units. That's really, it was a budgetary decision that said we're going to go to 1-man units.
Yeah, and Jackie's right about that thing. I ran that campaign. The bond election the city ran to increase police. I ran that campaign, so I know a lot about that. But we also have a revenue cap in our city now that prevents us from spending more money on enhanced law enforcement. So coming in the next budget year, the revenue cap we're going to run up against is going to force whoever the mayor is to make tough decisions on the city budget. And when 2/3 of it's public safety, that's going to get impacted. And this notion that we've already done our part and we don't have to do any more is false, because as the city population grows, we need to invest more in our law enforcement, and we need to be clear about that. So
yeah,
not just
I never said that we've done our part and not anything more.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking to the
just in general. Okay.
easy
Welcome,
down.
welcome
I just think that this is an opportunity, right, for us to think about these very important things and not just kind of knock the government, right? The police, the fire, the EMS are 2/3 of our local government. So when you say government is bad, these are the people that you're kicking in the shin.
I do agree with parts of his statement. I think this is the time that those in public safety, when they make their requests, every city, they look at their budget cycle. This is the time to look for technological advances. We talked about cameras on cops. That's another way. What they're doing by doubling up, they're trying to make sure that they're safe. But putting cameras on cops is another option that we've discussed on the show. So this is the time that officers and those in public safety can make those requests through their budget to make sure that not only morale improves within the department, but they're safe on the streets.